She met a wealthy Hong Kong businessman who claimed to be single and said that she was lonely from working abroad. Later, she found out that he had a wife and daughter in Hong Kong.
What's going on, tribe? Welcome back to another episode of BMSL. I am your host, Ghost, and today we are reacting to China's Mistress Village on the China Observer channel. I'll drop the link down in the description box below. But before we get started, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you're getting value. Man, again, we're smashing our goals, so I appreciate you guys for that. But this China's Mistress Village is interesting to me because I think it's the direction that America's going. Let me explain. See, with the explosion of OnlyFans, with the decrease of marriage and family and children in the United States, there's only one viable option to go. Now, I'm not the one to criticize anybody for their activities that they do in the bedroom, but I'm actually for it because I think this is a fantastic idea, right? Because, hey, listen, men are struggling with paying child support, men are struggling with paying alimony, men are struggling across the board because they have bought into the idea that, hey, if we get married and have a couple kids, we will live the American dream. Now, as a young guy myself, I can see the trend in what the women are doing, and I think this is the direction that we're gonna go. But let's figure out how it works. Let's get some more context from the China Observer channel because, you know, it may give us some key insight into the key details of what we need to know of, hey, is this going to be a good thing or if this is going to be a bad thing? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and let's go ahead and get started.
And Hong Kong followed. Shenzhen, as a special economic zone and the forefront of reform, also attracted thousands of migrant workers, including many young and beautiful girls. These girls mostly came from rural areas. Some were quite simple and used to a hard life, making them easier to get along with. They carried the burden of supporting their families at a young age. At the time, wages and prices in Shenzhen were relatively low. Wealthy men from Hong Kong could spend between 4,000 to 8,000 Hong Kong dollars to keep a young woman in an urban village. Soon, the trend of keeping mistresses spread throughout Shenzhen. The so-called mistress villages were residential areas where wealthy men kept their mistresses. During China's rapid economic growth, some businessmen and officials would secretly establish such homes on the outskirts of the city to hide from their wives. These urban villages...
Woo-wee! So far we've gotten young, attractive women being attracted to China because of this mistress village, right? And they're basically building up China. They're building up a certain part of China, and they're having it specifically quartered off and catered off just to have these mistresses. That is wild. And it says just to hide from their wives, but I don't know. Chinese wives, Asian wives, if you know anything about them, they don't necessarily have a problem with their men doing these type of activities. Okay, so, you know, it could be to hide from their wives, or it could be just an agreement that these guys have. Now, and again, even in America, there are many different types of relationships, which makes this so much more interesting. So let's get some more. Let's continue.
Became a special community and were seen as symbols of indulgent lifestyles. Huanggang Village is near the Huanggang port, which was a key crossing point between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. A certain flashy group of people regularly passed through this port. They wore large gold chains, carried bulky cell phones, and spoke Mandarin with a Hong Kong accent. They frequented the most upscale restaurants in Huanggang Village, often accompanied by young, beautiful women. As this lavish lifestyle expanded, certain residential developments in Shenzhen's Luohu district, like Yijing Garden and Jinglu Garden, became known for their high concentration of mistresses. In the mid-1990s, Shenzhen's central area shifted westward to the Futian district, and areas like Changsha Village, Shazhui Village, and Shuiwei Village became favored hotspots for Hong Kongers to hide their mistresses. The widespread and open practice of keeping mistresses was arguably unparalleled in Chinese communities. According to Hong Kong anthropologist Professor Tan Xiaowei, by the late 1990s, 1 in 6 Hong Kong men working in mainland China had a mainland wife. Not all of these men were big bosses. Some were ordinary workers earning tens of thousands of Hong Kong dollars per month. Hong Kong, as a port city, served not only as a central hub for economic and trade exchanges between mainland China and the West, but also as a link connecting mainland China and Taiwan.
What does this remind you of? Because, I mean, there's plethora of examples I could give. Miami, LA, New York, they all have that in common. And one thing that we know for sure, in 28, 29 years living on this earth, women are going to flock to where the money is. So if you have a city, or you live in a city like a Miami or a Los Angeles or a New York or Chicago, even for that matter, you're going to have young, hot, and attractive women being kind of flocking there in an instance, because listen, where the money goes, the women go. So, you know, this right here kind of reminds me of that, because it's being built up. It looks absolutely amazing. If you guys look at the visuals of the houses, you know, the ports, man, it looks good. But let's get some more, guys. Let's get some more.
At the time, Hong Kong was one of the top free trade ports in the world and a global logistics center, with the advantage of being a duty-free port. It had one of the busiest container terminals globally, and various service industries flourished as a result. Hong Kong's container truck drivers and taxi drivers were already earning over 10,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. Hong Kong Port became the busiest border crossing for both passengers and freight in China, and it was also the first to operate 24 hours a day. With trucks frequently traveling between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, a trend of men keeping mistresses in Shenzhen emerged. In the evenings, areas near Huanggang Port, such as Huanggang and Shangsha Village, would be lined with large container trucks parked along the roadside as drivers headed to their love nests to meet their mistresses. Back then, diligent Hong Kong truck drivers could earn around 30,000 Hong Kong dollars a month, which was incredibly tempting for young women from other provinces who came to Shenzhen for work. These women, who often worked overtime and only earned around 1,000 yuan a month, were drawn to the possibility of a much higher income. What's surprising is that the mistress industry became completely open, with no taboos around either seeking a sponsor or being a sponsor. Some Hong Kong businessmen even openly recruited lovers, and the mistress industry adopted a referral system. A woman who had already become the mistress of a Hong Kong man would recommend her cousins or close friends when she knew that her lover's friends were also looking for someone in the mainland. These women, often matched by their hometown friends, quickly became mistresses to Hong Kong truck drivers. The men would rent a place close to the border and provide their mistresses with around 4,000 to 5,000 Hong Kong dollars a month for living expenses. Aside from waiting for the drivers to come back for a short rest, the daily routine for these women consisted of shopping.
Hey guys, this is absolutely incredible. So real quick, 10,000 yuan. I think that the port workers were making $10,000 in the Chinese yuan. It equals about $1,377 in U.S. terms. I just looked it up right here. As well as an allowance. If you give an allowance to your sugar baby or to your mistress, then that's going to be $688, which is 5,000 yuan. So it's pretty cool. One Chinese yuan equals 14 cents in the United States dollar. So, you know, your dollar stretches pretty far when you go to different countries, especially countries that we kind of have a hand in controlling, or, you know, because China imports a lot of things to America, and they're pretty much dependent on this for a big part of their economic growth. You know, again, like when you get to the United States and you start traveling and you start getting out of these places, you're going to actually start to see stark differences. I've been to Germany, I've been to England so far as well. So I'm well aware in a sense of how your buying power works when you go overseas. Let's continue.
Playing mahjong with their friends and comparing who received the most money from their patrons. Many Hong Kong businessmen, especially those involved in the jewelry and clothing trades, also followed this trend and started maintaining second homes in Shenzhen. Over time, not only rural women, but also female university students became a primary source of mistresses. It was a well-known fact that female university graduates faced employment difficulties, especially since many companies discriminated against women. Some of these students, burdened by student loans and struggling with financial difficulties at home, felt immense pressure to find a job quickly. If they couldn't, the impact on them was significant. Whether they were working-class women or university students, their goal was the same: to make money quickly, improve their lives, and support their families. When they couldn't achieve that through conventional means, becoming a mistress seemed like a natural alternative. At that time, the mistress industry in Shenzhen had already become well organized, symbolizing a certain sense of fashion and trendiness. Hong Kong media even gave Shenzhen the name Mistress City. Mistresses in Shenzhen generally fell into two categories. The first was the long-term type, where the woman's Hong Kong boyfriend was usually older, and there was a more established emotional bond between them.
So that is what it's called. Older men, younger women. I've released a video on my page describing this in detail. But basically, she's a sugar baby. He's a sugar daddy. He pays for her living situation, and essentially she's a concubine. When you're talking about a concubine, they are not just women of the night. They're not hoes. They're not skeezers or anything like that. She's a kept woman. The guy, most likely, if he's successful, he has a wife at home, and she's just going to be on the side. So when he travels, either he's going to take her with him, or when he comes back, she's expecting a visit maybe 2 or 3 times a month before he goes back and sees his wife. So kept woman, concubines, this type of relationship that they're talking about is not that she's not a skeezer, she's not a whore or anything like that. She's a kept woman. And so, as you saw, she's fully taken care of. She has an allowance, and she sees him whenever she wants. She goes out throughout the day, takes care of her nails, takes care of her hair, has fun with her friends and girls, and they kind of compare and contrast on who has the best sugar daddy, or mistress, or whatever they call a gentleman in that situation in China. But let's get some more.
Making the relationship relatively stable. The second was the short-term type, where the relationship only lasted around a year or so, resembling more of a cohabiting boyfriend-girlfriend situation. Typically, when the man stopped showing up or refused to pay for her upkeep, the woman would break up with him, sell off everything in the house, end the lease, and either leave Shenzhen or find another man to support her. According to a
and just one more comment, guys. This is literally how it's supposed to work. Okay, just give you some background about myself, right? I figured out the hard way that getting a woman for free with your mouthpiece is never actually going to do the trick. If you think that you're just gonna leave her with nothing, you got another thing coming, because later on down the line, she can make some allegations, some claims, especially here in America, that does not look good on you. You might be somebody in the future. So what she's saying can not only just affect you currently, it could affect you later on down the line. We've seen so many cases of this, of men who became successful after they came from the slums, or after they came from the bottom or lower middle class to upper middle class, or to rich, to where women are coming out against him, saying he didn't treat me well, he kicked me out, he treated me with disrespect. So it's imperative, me coming from the suburbs, I'm aware of this, I was taught this, and now I'm executing on this, because I understand that men in your 20s, you're not going to be anything until later on in your life for the majority of men. Okay, so it's important that whoever you're interacting with is going to be on the up and up. You're going to be providing her with some sort of monetization, some money, some house to live in, so where she's not going to feel like she's being taken advantage of. So that's how I move, and that's how I've been moving since I was about 23, 24 years old. I understood my role, I understood who I am, and I understand how women see me. And so instead of trying to figure out, hey, maybe I could be like this and throw the shorty to the side and nah, I ain't getting into all that, okay? I'm going to treat them with respect. I'm going to give them the respect that is due to them. And I'm going to give them a little bit of money so that way they can, pad their pockets and do whatever they want to do, okay? But yeah, this is pretty much how it works. Let's continue.
Report by Phoenix TV, there were as many as 50,000 mistresses in Huanggang Village alone. Other areas like Bagualing, Hongguei Road, and Xinzhou were also densely populated with mistresses. In other parts of Guangdong, such as Zhangmutou in Dongguan, the number of mistresses reached a peak of 120,000. It's estimated that there were at least 300,000 mistresses in Shenzhen. Many Hong Kong men chose to have their mistresses settle down in these areas, and if you talk to these women, they would all say the same thing: in a couple of years, my child's father will arrange for his Hong Kong residency. Adi, a young woman from rural Hubei, saw her allowance from her Hong Kong boyfriend increase from 8,000 yuan a month to 20,000 yuan. She kept herself well-groomed, visited beauty salons for manicures, enjoyed afternoon tea, played mahjong with friends, and spent her evenings watching movies or chatting online. She had a comfortable place to live, and her job was simple. She only needed to spend 4 or 5 nights with her boyfriend each month. Every time they met, he would also give her gifts like bags, shoes, or cosmetics.
Hey guys, pay attention to this part right here. I want you guys to pay attention specifically to this part because it's about to get into some juicy stuff. So pay attention.
For Adi, who had never finished middle school and lacked any real skills, this lifestyle left her feeling content. One girl once said, "Working in a factory means laboring for over 12 hours a day, barely earning a few hundred yuan. Living with a Hong Kong man means no work and no worries about life. What's wrong with that?" As the phenomenon of being a mistress became more common, the mistress villages flourished, coinciding with Hong Kong's golden age of economic growth. The community in these villages became increasingly complex, with relationships becoming more transactional. Take Xiaoling, for example. She stopped her education after middle school and heard that she could make good money in Shenzhen. To support her family, she followed her fellow villagers to Guangdong to work. At first, she worked in a factory and lived in a dormitory, but soon she moved out. She met a wealthy Hong Kong businessman who claimed to be single and said that she was lonely from working abroad. Xiaoling, young and inexperienced, fell for his sweet talk and became his mistress. Later, she found out that he had a wife and daughter in Hong Kong. Even though she realized that she had been deceived, she couldn't give up the comfortable life. The businessman promised Xiaoling that if she could give him a son, he would give her a lump sum of 300,000 yuan, a huge amount at the time. The condition was that the child would be raised by his wife in Hong Kong, and Xiaoling would not see the child again. If it were a daughter, she would receive 80,000 yuan, but the child would still go to the wife. Xiaoling accepted, reasoning that even after 10 or 20 years of hard work, she couldn't earn that kind of money. After Xiaoling gave birth to a daughter, the businessman quickly arranged to send the child to Hong Kong. It wasn't until Xiaoling experienced the pain of being separated from her child that she realized what sort of deal she made. She begged the businessman to let her keep the baby until the child's first month, but he refused and transferred the promised money to her. He also told her to disappear immediately, warning that if she continued to bother him, her reputation would be ruined. Xiaoling then realized that she would never see her child again, and the businessman ruthlessly abandoned her. Many women in the mistress villages had experiences similar to Xiaoling.
Oh my God. Okay, so if she had a son, she was gonna get paid 300,000 yuan. Okay, so let's take a look at how much that is. That's basically $41,313, right? Since she had a daughter, she was gonna get paid 80,000, which is $11,000 in the United States. Now, this is a pretty good deal. Now, she ended up having a daughter. He ended up taking it, being raised by the wife, just like he said. But then she comes back and she's like, well, I don't want to give up my kid. And he's like, nah, it's already too late. Here's your 11K. Get out of here, pretty much. Now, the reason why I want to show this video and the reason why I want to have this conversation is because as a young guy, I see the trend of where things are going as far as in the dating and relationships type of pool. Because listen, I'm still single. I'm not married at all. And I don't plan on getting married anytime soon. But these type of relationships, these transactional relationships, it is what is becoming the norm here in America. Comment down below if you guys agree with me. And I'm glad we get a chance to have this conversation today, because it's one of the things that's been apparent to me for some time, that how we used to treat women here in America, they're completely reversing the script and flipping the script. Men have become the women and the women have become the men. That is what I'm saying. Okay. Now, men don't have an abundance mindset like the women, because women all know that they have about 10 years to do this before they have to find just a different option. But even then, still, some women are saying, hey, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to get married. I don't want to do anything like that. I still want to engage in this type of activity, which is sugar baby, sugar daddy, older men, younger women, type of activity, right? And so it speaks to where we are as far as culture wise, but it also speaks to where China was back in the day and how they were doing things is coming to America, which begs the question that I want to ask you guys: is this what's next in America? Now, I understand everyone has different values, belief systems, and how they grew up, but Even the women in the church, even the quote unquote good girls, they're just bad girls that haven't been caught and they're still doing this. Listen, let me just tell you right now, the good girls, the Christian girls, they're doing this on a whole different scale. And then coming back to Christianity and then just trying to say that, hey, I've had a grand awakening, a grand opening, whatever the case may be. And so they're trying to get back into the spirit of Jesus Christ, right? But they once had the spirit of living, so it's one of those things where it's complicated, but also it's good that we're having this conversation, because no matter what we do, no matter what we believe, women are going to go this direction. They are going this direction, right? And so last thing before I let you go, as I put a bow in it, we have to adjust as men, right? This is a real thing. And I understand the values that we have and what we want. But here in America, here in the West, if you're in Australia, Germany, United States, the UK, you have no chance of finding someone like this. You're basically looking for a needle in a haystack. So make the decision with both eyes open. And if you still want to make that decision to get married, you find a unicorn or something like that, hey, more power to you, right? Just like Travis Hunter, I have more power to him. If he believes that he found a unicorn, go ahead and make that leap, right? I'm all for healthy relationships. And I think that we'd be much happier just accepting the way the world is right now than trying to change it and just go back. That's all I got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. It's always fun rocking with you guys. I love you. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.